Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Quote to Cash, online and offline with FieldFX. We are happy that you've taken the time to join us today. My name is Emily Rhodes, and I'm the Director of Marketing at LiquidFrameworks, and I will be acting as the moderator for our webinar today. So let's start with the housekeeping notes. We've muted the phone lines on our end to avoid any interruptions. We will, however, allow time for a short question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So if you have a question, please enter it in the chat section on the right-hand side of the screen, and we will answer it at the end of the session. If we don't have time for all of the questions, we'll be sure to follow up with you personally after the webinar. Next, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Joining us today, we have two experts from the solutions engineering team at LiquidFrameworks, Justin Gerard and Alif Musa. Justin and Alif will help us explore how to effectively manage the quote-to-cash process digitally, even without an internet connection. You'll also get to see how FieldFX uniquely solves this problem with a demo of FieldFX in action. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Justin to get us started.
Thank you, Emily, for that introduction, and thank you everyone for joining our webinar today to talk about automating your quote-to-cash process online and offline with FieldFX. Before we dive right into a demo of the process, I would be remiss if I didn't set the stage about who LiquidFrameworks is and who we serve. LiquidFrameworks has been around since 2001, primarily operating as a consultant in the oil field and industrial space around mobile field operations. We evolved into a software company in 2007 with our first enterprise SaaS solution. Fast forward to today, and we have a suite of over 10 modules focused specifically on three main verticals. We've spent countless hours riding out to well sites, refineries, conducting interviews with field technicians, and even talking to your customers to deliver an enhanced suite of modules capable of serving all facets of the oil field, industrial, and environmental services industries. As you can see by a sample set of some of our customers, we don't sell to the Mr. Fix-It or your typical AC repairman. We focus solely on the oil field, industrial, and environmental industries. So whether you're drilling a new well, installing a beam pump for artificial lift, transporting produced water to a disposal site, cleaning up after a spill altogether, or maybe you're performing an inspection or even a repair on a heat exchanger inside of a refinery, or even a variation of those, FieldFX is right for you. The FieldFX product suite is comprised of two base applications: FX e-ticketing, which is Alif's primary focus today, as well as Enterprise Asset Management, or EAM, which helps you enhance your physical asset management, and that's our webinar subject next month. There are a number of add-on modules for scheduling your job resources, which Alif will show you today as well as tracking time or managing your contract additions with CPQ, customer self-service for an online portal that you can get closer to your customer with, as well as our invoicing module, which Alif will show you as well. Inherent across all of these modules is the FX Analytics and FX Forms modules. And this allows you to capture those job safety analysis forms, those DVIRs or pre-post equipment inspection forms, and then be able to report on that data to help you drive smarter strategic decision making. Across the oilfield, industrial, and environmental industries, we see many common challenges that exist today in a paper-driven environment. For starters, we have suboptimal cash flow. Field tickets function as a receipt of goods and services provided to a customer. Research shows that a lengthy handwritten process is prone to errors as well as fraud. The longer it takes for a technician to have that paper ticket delivered back to the office, the greater the chance that something might happen to that paper ticket. Time is our single most important asset here, so let's try to use it effectively. Invoice accuracy. The slow clerical process of paper-based, Excel, and other manual systems results in high DSO. Moreover, it increases the chances of errors and consumes valuable time. We know that if you submit an invoice to your customer and it's even a penny off, they'll reject that invoice until it's correct. Our goal is to reduce the number of rejected invoices to 0. E-ticketing makes existing processes more efficient because it speeds up field data collection and customer invoicing. It also ensures that approvers receive accurate field service information. There's no insight into current metrics. What good is all this information that's captured if we can't do anything with it? Manual data reports prevent the spread of accurate, real-time information, making it difficult for managers to make accurate decisions about their business. Paper-based processes end up using too many resources that companies could instead use to take on higher value work with greater returns for the business. Departments work in silos, transferring data from one system to another, reconciling that data by hand, and trying to interpret that data by eyeballing an Excel sheet will continue to produce error-prone results. These errors may lead to poor decision-making, and after all, they come with the risk of incomplete information, illegible handwriting, incorrect billing, and data entry errors. The traditional process makes it more challenging for operators and service companies to stay organized and to find the documents that they need when they need it. By moving to an industry standard format, you can reduce errors and eliminate inefficiencies throughout your operations. And in many ways, all of these challenges are manifested because field technicians are working in remote areas. They do not have a stable internet connection, and this could pose a challenge because field crews need to be able to perform their tasks, create tickets, JSAs, inspections, and even capture those nifty stamps for proof of delivery. Field personnel often end up spending too much time on administrative tasks like searching for correct coding or reconciling inaccurate information. Automated coding and validation can shorten the field ticket approval time to days or even hours. And this results in a happier employee because you've made their job easier, and it results in a happier customer that awards you more work in the future. The quote-to-cash process encompasses many sales, account management, order fulfillment, billing, and even accounts receivable functions. It considers the steps taken as your sales team configures a quote, drafts a proposal for the client, through to when the invoice is submitted to your customer for services rendered. The manual quote-to-cash process begins when a customer requests service, either through phone or email. The salesperson then takes that information, generates a bid or a proposal. The customer then approves it, and all that information is then sent to someone in operations via, again, email or paper to an ops coordinator. They coordinate the job, they call around to see who's available and who can actually work on that customer's site for this type of work that's being done. The technician then gets the information, drives the paper ticket back to the office, or maybe even a runner is tracking that company man down to get a signature, but finally accounting rekeys that data into an invoice in their ERP. Now, I don't know how many of you have played the telephone game as a kid, but every time I've played it, the more friends we had in the circle, the higher the chances were that the original phrase being incorrect when it goes to the end of the chain. With a more streamlined approach to field ops, accounting service companies can reduce the DSO and get paid more quickly. Digitizing tasks and automating processes help companies boost productivity and streamline tactical functions, and the various departments in your company benefit from having access to accurate information from a single source anytime and anywhere. One way we optimize the quote-to-cash process is in the way we have harmonized our data. We want to reduce the need for a salesperson to physically choose which price book to use for a given quote by having them answer basic information and have FieldFX derive the correct pricing from the get-go. In this example, we have many different price books from various customers across different product segments. As the salesperson is entering in basic information such as who the customer is, which in this case is Cirrus, we're doing our quote out of the Midland area, and we're quoting Cirrus on a wireline job today. The system will automatically pinpoint with 100% accuracy the exact price book that we're supposed to use and carry that pricing across the quote, the ticket, and the invoice, ultimately giving us what we refer to as the four-way match. A four-way match ultimately helps you remain contract compliant by helping select the right pricing from the start. It reduces your day sales outstanding because you're submitting the invoice accurately the very first time, so it's likely to not be rejected. It ensures that you're capturing every dollar that you possibly can per the contract with your customer, and it leads to a happier customer that awards you more work in the future because you have less errors. As it exists today in a siloed environment, where the technician is working in a remote environment, offline and away from the internet, oftentimes the data that is captured in the field is driving numerous business processes across different departments, and it's imperative to a company's success to collapse the time that it takes to receive that data back. In many industries, the internet is often readily available, but we know that in the oil field, industrial, and environmental service industries, they often need expanded capabilities around capturing data offline and away from the internet. But we have technicians that are filling out JSAs and taking pictures of broken valves and spills at customer sites. And most importantly, they're filling out all of their daily tickets that have actual real dollar values behind them. Collapsing that barrier reduces the ability to have miskeyed data and to be able to report on accurate data always. You can free your metrics from the self-contained boxes so they can provide maximum value to every unit that participates in the quote-to-cash process and to the organization as a whole. Ultimately, the quote-to-cash process helps make selling and delivering a quality customer experience easier. And with that said, I'll turn it over to Emily.
Well, thank you, Justin. Thank you for providing us with an overview of the end-to-end process. Next up, I'd like to give the stage to Elise, who's going to walk us through a demo of FieldFX.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you everyone who has joined us for the webinar. Before I dive into the software itself, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to set the scene for our demo and the workflow we will be following. So I'm going to play a role of an employee for a fictitious company called Parka Energy Services. Parka's fictitious customer is Cirrus Oil. And both of these companies are in the energy sector and have a global reach. And they both have a master service agreement with each other. Parka sends field personnel to conduct services at Cirrus's well sites, which are often remote and lack good internet service. And I work for Parka Energy Services in varying roles. So having said that, this role starts as a salesperson, where in our back office application, I'll be creating quotes by accessing price book. And next, the data that I entered at the quote level will seamlessly flow to a field manager where they'll be setting up jobs and scheduling and dispatching equipment and field personnel to the field. Then the data flows to our mobile application. This is where the field tech completely disconnected from the internet picks up a tablet or a field laptop to complete e-forms, fill out daily tickets, and get electronic signatures. Then finally, the data seamlessly flows back to the back office application for somebody in accounting team to finish out the process by reviewing field tickets and creating invoice. Again, I'll be playing each of these roles as I guide you through our system. Having said that, let's log in to our software. As a salesperson, when I log into our system, I am greeted by a dashboard with useful reports that are tailored to my needs. Using dashboards, I can monitor my day-to-day activities and trends all on one screen. So the most important information is front and center. Everyone can configure their own dashboards to fit their needs. So if you have 10 or 20 or more salespeople, they can create their own reports and dashboards. Some of these reports are going to be very useful to me. For example, I can look at my performance by month or quarter. I can look at bid won versus loss. And on more financial side of things, I can look at average gross margin for my quotes. Again, this capability for reporting helps me have more visibility and accountability. And as you can see, it's super user-friendly and easy on the eyes. So this morning, I received a call from Cirrus Oil, and they want me to send them a quote for one of their wells that needs a workover service. To do that, I'll create a quote in our system. This is where our software uses a unique price book management to bring together a price book that is tailored to your customer, to your location, and your business segment. In this case, we are using the price book Cirrus Houston Price Book 2020. This is because Parka has an MSA with Cirrus, as I mentioned to you all earlier, and Parka works for Cirrus around the world. So here we have selected a customer and a location-specific price book. As Justin mentioned earlier, about the four-way match, this is where it starts. Next, I'm going to add more details regarding this quote.
And you'll see at the top side where Alip is entering in the vertical depth and the measured depth. Here we can provide a guidance for success to our salespeople in that they're answering basic questions about the conditions of the well site, and based on the information and the answers that Alip is putting in there, it's automatically driving items onto the quote for him without having to go into the price book and manually figure out what to add.
Thanks, Justin. Next I do here is add more items to the quote. So this could be equipment, it could be services, it could be labor or mileage. I also have the capability to create a parent-child relationship between line items. And I can also create bundles and packages. This further ensures that I don't leave out items that are frequently quoted with other items. On a second note, I can also calculate gross margins at the quote level and thresholds to prevent myself from quoting a price that I'm not supposed to. The color indicates whether I'm exceeding my limit to discount an item and if this item is going to be generating revenue.
And we know that the salespeople out there are very close to your customers, and this allows the management to place guardrails so that the brother-in-law isn't getting some sort of special discount from a particular sales rep. And if they are, it can go through a specific approval process if the margins are below a certain KPI.
Exactly. My sales manager can also set hard limits on discounting and require approval for large discounts. You can tailor these thresholds to better reflect your company's needs. So for example, if I go ahead and put in a 25% discount, then the system will tell me that this is not valid and I need to seek approval from my manager. As you can see, one of the line items is already in red, which means that the price that was quoted is way too low. So we can move this towards making it more positive. That way, the quote will be approved by management. Once all the items are added to the quote, my next step is to generate a customer-facing document to my customer Cirrus. For this, I'll go to the next tab titled Generate Proposal. As you can see, everything I quoted is beautifully presented on a nice PDF form with my company's branding. I'm going to go over it one more time, and if everything looks good, I'm going to sign my name at the bottom as a representative of Parka Energy Services. So this could be using a trackpad on your laptop or a mouse or DocuSign. You can have these signed. Now I'll send this to my customer for an approval and get their signatures. Again, so far we have seen in FieldFX is the ability for reporting and creating dashboards. We also saw how easy it is to create a quote with the price book that is concise, no matter the complexity of pricing. So I heard back from Cirrus and they have given Parka a green light to go ahead and the bid is won. Now that the quote has been won, I'm going to switch my role to an operations manager at Parka Energy Services. So switching my role, I log in somebody in operations and I'm greeted here by a different dashboard. Our persona-specific security model allows operations to focus on what is important to them. In this case, I'm observing crew and equipment utilization and billable versus non-billable time. I'm looking at job costs. I'm also looking at number of corrected tickets by office. So our next step here, once I am caught up with my day, is to start a job. As you can see here, the data I entered at the quote does not need to be entered again. This helps me prevent double entry, which means the system ensures that mistakes are not being made. I can drill into this job and see details and see who the customer is on the left, see which price book it's coming from, and I can also get a visual into the quote, the PO, the totals, and location and scheduling data. You'll also notice on the right that we have qualification requirements, crew planning. We also can look into open tickets or closed tickets or the job history. I can quickly access all of this information by just being on a single screen. When I have created a job or a work order for my customer, the next step is to schedule these jobs. And in my role, I'm scheduling multiple jobs, right? I'm not only focused on one job. For this, I'll switch to our schedule and dispatch module. And what you're seeing here is a calendar view on the left and crew and equipment on the right. When I select the job that I want to schedule, you'll notice that both the crew and equipment are filtered by availability and job requirements, such as qualification or certification. I can color code my employees or equipment based on utilization or any other detail. This is reflected by the color red, yellow, and green. Red means that this person is over their weekly time limit, and yellow is approaching overtime, and green is safe to schedule. Having conditional formatting definitely helps me be more mindful of Parka's bottom line. Again, our system is very user-friendly, and all it takes to assign somebody to a job is to drag them to a job box on the calendar. Just like that. And I can do the same for any equipment I want to schedule. When a person is assigned, they can be notified via an email of the job.
We also know that a lot of times you may not know exactly who or what equipment is going to be assigned to the job, but you know that you might need, for example, an equipment operator for a specific time period. This might help you drive demand forecasting to know how many people you might need for a given week. And in this example, you'll see that Alif has an equipment operator that's highlighted in red for his Sears Well service job. It's highlighted in red because it doesn't have a person assigned to it. We know we need an equipment operator, but we don't have the knowledge of which one is going to be working on it. As soon as Alif drags and drops the person onto that placeholder, automatically the placeholder is colored green, indicating that we're good to go to proceed.
Thanks, Justin. Again, so far we have seen how easy it is to create a job, and using our schedule and dispatch module, we can better allocate our resources and make sure that people who show up on the well side are qualified and available to do the work. So next, I'll switch my role at Parka Energy again, and now I'm going to put my hard hat on and go out in the field. From this point forward in mobile, everything I'm going to show you can be completely offline, disconnected from the internet. Also, our application is device agnostic, which means that it can be used on any device, whether it's a field laptop or a tablet. When I see an email for my job assignment, I first open my mobile application and look at the jobs that have been assigned to me in the Jobs tab. As you can see, I've been only assigned one job, and I'll go dig into it further. You can see that price book and quote are pulled through from the back office, which guarantees you data consistency, which also means no missing items. So the first thing I do when I get on customer's well site is fill out a JSA. And in our Forms tab, this could be not only be a JSA, but it could also be an inspection form of any sort. So I'll fill out the form using these simple toggle switches that there might be some potential hazards or PPE that might be required for this particular case. And then I'll pass my tablet around in the circle for people to sign into this particular JSA, seeing that everybody has seen it. So for this example, I'm going to just put in Justin, who's with Cirrus, and he's on the well side as well, and I'm going to have him sign this. So once everything is completed, I'll generate a report. This is, again, a very nice customer-facing report that can be generated on a PDF, and we are capturing signatures offline, disconnected from the internet, on a tablet or a laptop. And this could be done by touching your screen or your mouse or your trackpad. So I'll go ahead and add this to the job packet. And when I am done for the day, the final thing I do is create a ticket and get it signed from the customer. So I'll go back to the job, go into the ticket, and in this case, my ticket has already been created for me by my field supervisor in the back office. The only thing I have to do is to ensure here that I can get my geolocation so I can show Cirrus a proof of delivery. So making sure that the geolocation is correct. Okay. And everything looks good. So next, I'll go ahead and add the items to the ticket. As you can see, all the quoted items from the quote I can have a visual in it. This means that, again, I am not forgetting what was quoted or at what price the item was quoted. This prevents revenue leakage by leaving items out of the quote. Along with the price book and the quote, this creates third-way match for our going towards our four-way match.
And we also understand that a lot of times when your crew is out on site, the company man comes up and says, "Hey guys, while you're here, can you go ahead and do X, Y, Z for us while you're on our well site?" A lot of times the technician would have to create a whole new ticket and go through that entire process again. But here, Elise has access to the price book offline and away from the internet. So he can add an item from the contracted pricing, even if it wasn't quoted originally by the salesperson.
Thanks, Justin. So I can add an item, like Justin mentioned, to the ticket. Next, in the ticket log, I'll go ahead and add relevant information because there were some NPT that happened while I was in the field. So I want to make sure that the management knows what took place. To do that, adding log is pretty simple. I can go into the NPT tab, check the location that I am at. Again, I have different options, what it was cost by. I can go into particular issue and the details that I can further add. I can also add comments to this particular NPT log. After that, I add it to the ticket itself. And from there, I can have it signed by the customer. And for this, we have several options.
So in this example, you'll see that when the company man is not on site, and this happens all the time, right? So the waiter's on their way to the table and the company man's stepping out to use the restroom. You're sending runners out to chase these guys down. In this example, we could send this, for example, to FX customer self-service to allow the company man to log in and sign this ticket at their discretion. Or if we wanted to, we could request an internal approval prior to getting that ticket signed in case we want to, for example, ensure that everything is accurate before signature.
Thanks, Justin. And the second way to do this is I can create a report out in the field. So as you can see, everything flows to a customer-facing PDF, so I can get it signed by Cirrus. I can also get it stamped. So I can choose the stamp that I want to add, or in case if you have a tablet, just take a picture of it, and then I'll hand the tablet over to the customer Cirrus, and they'll have it signed, and then I can sign it myself, and there you go. The ticket has been signed and completed and added to the job packet. So finally, when I am connected to the internet, either back in the hotel that I'm staying for the night or just at a restaurant having dinner, I can sync this all up back to the back office. So in the field, as long as I have permissions from management, I can quote, create a job or a ticket, and add items from either the quote or the price book without ever having the need to connect to the internet. So next, I will change my persona for the final time. Now, next morning, I'm working at Parka Energy as an somebody in accounting. So when I log into accounting, I am, again, greeted by a different dashboard that is more relevant to me. So first thing I do is go and see all the signed tickets. I'll drill into a ticket and see everything for accuracy. Once I approve it, I'll go into the invoicing tab. So we'll do an approval here and then go into invoicing. This is where I'm going to create an invoice for Cirrus Oil. I can get as flexible as I want here with being able to not only invoice few items from a ticket, but also I can split tickets, or I also have the capability of aggregating tickets. Once I determine the items I want to add to the invoice, the system automatically applies the four-way match. As you can see, the pricing flows from price book to the quote, to the ticket, and to the invoice, giving us a match validation. The green dots validate that we have a match and everything looks good. So from here, you can send this invoice out to your ERP, or you can send it directly to a customer in a PDF form. So this concludes the demo, and I'm going to pass it down to Emily.
Thanks, Elise. Thanks for taking us through the solution. Okay, let's move on to questions and answers. Just a reminder, if you have a question for us, you can type it into the chat section, and we would be happy to answer that for you. Let's see. We do have a few questions here. Will my field techs have to send all data every time?
Great question, great question. So absolutely not. So the field technicians are only receiving the data that is made available to them based on their persona-specific configuration and the security settings. So you can only give the certain data to certain groups of people, and all of that data flows seamlessly down to our mobile application, and then every sync is only taking the changes. It's not taking the full database every time.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we've got another one. Does your system handle cost plus pricing?
Ooh, another good question. Absolutely. So we know that a lot of times, and I think we mentioned this in the demo, when the company man comes up and asks for some type of item or service that may not necessarily be in your price book all the time. We've even seen people order turkey fryers, for example, for different operators. That's not something you'll typically find in your price book, but you might have a miscellaneous item code that can handle a cost plus pricing. And we absolutely handle that flawlessly, and you can have different markup percents or markup amounts, and that is based on the customer as well.
Turkey fryer, that's interesting. Okay, can we hide pricing to our field technicians?
Absolutely. So Elise today chose to see pricing, but again, that is based on the role that he is playing. So we've given him access to see pricing in the field because he plays that role in our demo org. But for example, if you wanted to hide pricing to certain groups of users, you absolutely could, but the field ticket would still have pricing associated with it if you wanted it to when it's presented to your customer.
Okay.
Great question.
That's it. I don't see any other questions. If you do have a question and we didn't see it for some reason, feel free to send us an email or reach out to your account executive. We have recorded the webinar today, and so that'll be sent out very soon so that you can watch it on demand. And thank you for attending today. We really appreciate your time with us, and have a great afternoon. Thanks, folks.